is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are the Lions.
Good night here last night for the Redlegs. They used power early. Jesse Winker led off the game with a home run, and then later on, Eugenio Suarez, his second career grand slam, and then you combine that with the pitching of the young right-hander Tyler Mahle, and it all added up to good things for the Reds last night. Their 7th shutout win of the year, 6-0 Redlegs. And today here in St. Louis, it is a beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon. Reds closing out a 7-game road trip, trying to do it with a win. If they can get one here today, they will win for the first time since 2011 the season series against the Cardinals. All coming up on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi everyone, and welcome once again to Reds Baseball. Along with Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Jim Kelch. Reds going for the series victory here in the finale of this 3-game get-together. Chris, they'll do it again with another matchup of very young pitching prospects on both sides.
Well, you're right about that. It'll be Amir Garrett, 25-year-old, takes the ball for the Reds. Now, this is really a place where it should conjure up some real good feelings for Amir Garrett. Had his Major League debut here back in April. He also had his Major League first win here back in April. Going back to Friday against the Mets, and not a great outing for him. 3 home runs, had walked a couple of batters. His delivery for me has gone backwards since it was at the very beginning of the year. He's got a lot of work to do to get himself into a consistent, repeatable delivery. We'll see if he's been able to improve that at all in the last week.
Well, home runs certainly have been a problem for Amir Garrett this year. Now, on the other side of things, Luke Weaver is a 24-year-old that has really been pitching well.
Well, while Garrett was up here in the major leagues in April, Luke Weaver was down in the minor leagues just putting together a splendid minor league season. But since he's come up, he's even gotten better. Since August the 1st, you may say that he's one of the main reasons why the Cardinals are back in the race right now, because the way he has pitched to a 1.6 earned run average since August the 1st, he's a guy that they just don't run out there trying to develop. They need him to pitch, and believe me, this is a must-win game for this Cardinal team.
Well, Weaver's won 4 consecutive starts. Cardinals hope it's 5 in a row. Reds try to derail him here this afternoon. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Reds and what kind of a record pace are they on? Well, they hit their 200th home run here last night. Jim Day has more.
Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good? It's Skyline time. Rubber game of a 3-game set, Reds and Cardinals coming up. And if you like the long ball, you've at least enjoyed the Reds lineup this year because they've certainly been providing the power. Check out our IGS bringing the energy, and they could make some history this year. Last night they hit their 200th home run as a team, surpassing the 2,000 mark. And you look all time, and their eyes set on 2005, 222 home runs. That's a single-season club record. And this club right now on pace to hit 222 home runs. Hitting that 200th home run of the season last night was Eugenio Suarez, and it came in grand fashion, a grand slam home run. The 7th of the season for the Reds as far as grand slams go. And talked to him after the game, and he said, yeah, it's fun to hit in this lineup.
It is a really good lineup, man. You know, we're working hard to try to do our best, you know, and that's blessed me be part of this lineup and this group of the guys to hit 25 or more home runs. I feel blessed, so you know, I just try to do my best always.
And they now have 4 players with 25 or more home runs, and they're trying to match 1956. Look at those numbers. Robinson, Post, Big Clue, Bell, and Bailey. And Scooter Gennett sitting on 24 home runs. It could indeed happen. The business at hand, though, today, trying to win the series. And when we come back, it's Winker to the mic. I'll sit down with the Reds rookie when we come back on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds and Cardinals close out this 3-game set at Busch Stadium, and it's coming up on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day with Jesse Winker. Had to feel nice to get the party started last night with that home run.
For sure. You know, it was a great game all the way around for us. Anytime you could pitch a shutout, that's it's fun to be a part of. You know, everybody did great yesterday, and you know, just getting it started off with that homer was a lot of fun. So
I want to talk to you about after the home run. You come and Joey Votto. Was this orchestrated, what you guys did? Is that something that you practice?
Yeah, it's been practiced a couple of times, but it's kind of like our inside thing. So that I'm not going to give you too much information about it. So it's fun though. You know, it's all in good fun, and hopefully there could be more of those.
Well, let me dig not on that one, but when you were going back out onto the field, you guys had a conversation. Was that about future celebrations, perhaps?
I don't think it's it'd be right for me to let you in on that. I'm going to keep that secret, so you'll just have to, I guess, kind of wait and see.
All right, we'll wait and see on that one. If Joey wants to divulge it, Joey is the power guy in that situation. Knowing injuries are a part of this game, Billy Hamilton's out, and with that, you got an opportunity to hit some leadoff and to show your versatility a little bit. You got to be happy for that.
For sure. I just feel like wherever I'm put in the lineup, wherever I'm plugged in, it's just my job to go out there and put together good ABs and, make it tough on the pitcher, whether it's first, whether it's ninth, whether it's wherever. I don't really look too much into it. Like I said, I just try to make the pitcher's job tough and hit the ball hard.
Is this everything you've dreamed of so far at the big league level? Is it what you expected?
For sure. I'm learning a lot. We've got a great group of guys here. And I just feel like my job is to go out and continue to learn and continue to get better.
Tell me about being a rookie at this game, though. Trying to fit in with veterans in the clubhouse. Is that a challenge at times?
It's a learning experience. It's my first time really being a rookie in the with veterans around. Coming up through the minors, everyone's a little bit older than you. If not, they're pretty much your age. So it's fun. And I enjoy being around the veterans and learning from them. Like I said, there's a great group of guys here for me to learn from, and I'm just trying to take advantage of that.
Made a nice catch last night as well. Came a long way. You got to be happy whenever. You're known as an offensive guy, but whenever you can contribute defensively like that, has to be big for you. For sure. I just try to play my game. Coming up, everyone always labeled me as a mediocre defender. And I kind of took that to heart, and I've always tried to get better at it. I'm continuing to get better out and right and left. So, with every new day, it's just a new opportunity to get better at all aspects of my game. So, appreciate your time, man. Good luck the rest of the way. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, that's Jesse Winker. Series on the line. Rubber game of 3. Reds and Cardinals is right around the corner on Fox Sports Ohio.
Beautiful, beautiful Thursday afternoon here in St. Louis for the wrap-up of this series. The Reds and the Cardinals, each with a win thus far. The Cardinals coming out Tuesday night with a win. Reds bouncing back last night with a 6-0 shutout victory. Take a look at our Elk and Elk storylines for this afternoon's game, brought to you by Elk and Elk. What would a win mean today for the Reds? Well, it'll be their first season series win against the Cardinals since 2011. We've talked a lot about that. Their first season series win here in St. Louis since '06. They won a series here earlier this year in April, so they can win this series, winning 2 series in St. Louis for the first time since 1990. There's no doubt, and everybody knows, that the Cardinals have always been that hard place to win for the Redlegs. Take a look now at the Reds lineup for this afternoon's game, brought to you by Menards. Peraza will be in the leadoff spot. Winker has been there the first 2 games of this series. Then Cozart, then Votto. Suarez, Schebler, and Duvall make up the middle 3. And then it's Phillip Ervin out in center today. Barnhart catches Amir Garrett. And on the mound for the Cardinals, it's the right-hander Luke Weaver.
He is on some kind of a roll for a young man that really making his way through the major leagues as an every 5th-day starter for the first time here since the first part of August. The numbers that he has put up really responsible in a large way for the Cardinals being in the race here, both in the wild card race and the National League Central.
He joined the rotation just about a month ago, and Adam Wainwright went on the DL with the elbow impingement that he's been suffering. And boy, has he done good work for St. Louis since that time. He's won each of his last 4 starts, and actually, if you go back to the early part of August, won each of his last 5 starts with a 1.71 ERA. This guy is 6'2", 170 pounder, and as we watch him, Chris will break him down for us.
Yeah, when you say 6'2", 170, 20 or 30 years ago, that was an average-sized pitcher for a big leaguer. But now that is on the small side. But he does everything but pitch small out there. He's got a very good fastball, which he runs into the mid-90s. I mean, it's not one of these 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, but he's got his plus pitch is a changeup, and it is as good as you will find anywhere.
Off the end of the bat by Peraza, and he's going to be thrown out by the second baseman. That's Alex Mejia getting the start today at second base for the Cardinals. And we'll take a look at the rest of their defensive alignment, brought to you by Ford. In the outfield, they have Pham, Bader, and Grichuk. Grichuk started Tuesday, starting again tonight, or today. Infield, it's Carpenter, DeYoung. Mejia getting his first start of the series at second. Martinez at first. Molina behind the plate for this 24-year-old Luke Weaver out of DeLand, Florida. And if you're thinking, DeLand, Florida, didn't the Reds just face a guy out of DeLand, Florida? Yes, they did. That was Jacob deGrom of the Mets, who's also from DeLand, Florida, the home of Stetson University. Goes on at 303, 20 home runs, 58 runs batted in. A hit last night. In fact, he's had a hit in each of the first 2 games of this series. Touched on the fact, Chris did in the open, that this is a big game for Weaver and the Cardinals, because while the Reds were winning here last night, both the Cubs and the Brewers were winning. So they slipped a notch on the ladder. It's now Chicago by 2.5 over Milwaukee, 3 over the Cardinals heading into action today. Colorado lost their game, so in terms of the wild cards race, it's Milwaukee 3 back, St. Louis 3.5 back. There's your standings in the Central. To left and Pham. 2 out. Reds have faced this guy, Luke Weaver, before. Back on the 26th of September a year ago here out of the bullpen. He gave up 5 runs, 4 hits in 2/3 of an inning, and a 15-2 Reds win that evening. But this is the first time they have seen him in the starting rotation.
Well, the thing that got Luke Weaver to the major leagues this year is the same thing that got last night's starter Jack Flaherty to the major leagues, which is command of his pitches. And you see what he's got here with the splits. I think this is very interesting. That it's a short sample size, okay? Hasn't had all that many starts. But when you've got a lower batting average against left-handers than you do against right-handers, that tells me right away you've got a good changeup, and that is his #1 pitch.
You can see that's what he's done here, 172 versus 278. He also did that at AAA this year, 206 against lefties, 234 against right-handers, and he comes right at Votto and gets him on 3 pitches. The last one called by Adrian Johnson, and the Reds go down in order in the first, and now it's Amir Garrett's turn in the bottom half.
Reds and Cardinals on a beautiful sun-splashed day here at Busch Stadium, and 1-2-3 in the first inning. 0-2 fastball here to Joey Votto. Votto did not like the call. A little bit of framework by Molina on that, and he had some words with Adrian Johnson, a home plate umpire, after that extended really for about half of the time during the time between innings. Joey just kind of stood right there in the circle behind home plate and let it be known to Adrian Johnson he didn't think that was a strike.
That's a rarity right there. You don't see Votto do that very often. Yeah, he started to walk away, then turned around, and he and Adrian Johnson discussed strike 3. Now Amir Garrett will work against Matt Carpenter to get the Cardinal first inning going.
Well, for Garrett, finding the strike zone is of the utmost importance here and early in the game. We know about Carpenter. He's not going to chase a lot of pitches out of the zone. He will make you throw the ball over. Now the numbers on Amir Garrett, they started out so good at the beginning of the year. Major League victory right here in April. Looked like he was on a roller coaster downhill all year long, and he got sidetracked and eventually went down to the minor leagues and now owns an earned run average north of 7.
That game Chris is talking about here against the Cardinals back on the 7th was his big league debut. No runs in 6 innings. He put back-to-back starts together after that, one in Pittsburgh and then at home against Baltimore. In his first 3 starts, he had an ERA of 1.83.
Now the Reds minor league staff have tried to get him to not change his delivery, but get rid of the useless movement. And that's what you'll see out of him right now is kind of a modified stretch position, where you don't have a step back and hands going over your head, a lot of different things. They're trying to get him as compact as you possibly can. But that's only part of the problem for Garrett.
Right there's the other half, and that is lack of command within the strike zone and getting the ball over the plate.
Well, I mean, you can modify your delivery and take the motion out of it, but you still have to get to a good pitching spot every time, and Amir's still having a hard time getting to that.
He only walked 2 his last time out in that 5-inning outing against New York, but he gave up 3 home runs, and that's been a bugaboo for him this year as well. He's given up 22 homers in 63 1/3 innings, and now he misses again here. And there's Tucker's first trip to the mound.
Well, the old saying, Jim, is that if you're wild outside the zone, you're wild inside the zone, and that's what leads to home runs. Three of them in his last outing.
3-7 here with a 7.39. Chris talked about his ERA down in the minor leagues. This year he was 2-4 in 14 starts with an ERA approaching 6. So it's not like he went down there and dominated. Matt Carpenter's walk, by the way, is his 100th of the year. That's a career best for him. He is second in the league behind the Reds' Joey Votto in that department. Pham at 304 with 19 home runs, 63 runs batted in. How does he done against Amir Garrett? Well, he's never faced him. Was not in the lineup. In fact, he was in the minor leagues when the season started, Tommy Pham. That's when Garrett made his big league debut here in St. Louis back on April the 7th. Chased one out of the strike zone on a breaking ball, and Pham becomes the first out of the Cardinal first. Take a look at the rest of the Cardinal lineup behind Carpenter and Pham. Paul DeJong walks up there now as a number 3 hitter. Middle of the Cardinal lineup includes Martinez, Molina, and Bader. Bottom 3, Grichuk, Mejia, and Weaver, courtesy of Menards. Here's Paul DeJong with 1 on, 1 out. DeJong held hitless last night. He was 0 for 4. That snapped a modest hitting streak for him of 4. Homer in the game here Tuesday is 22nd. He's on a short list of players in Cardinal history that have hit over 20 home runs in their rookie year. All-time record, Albert Pujols hit 37 in his rookie year back in 2001. Remember the rise and fall very quickly of Chris Duncan, Dave Duncan's son. He hit 22 back in 06 as a left-handed hitter. Now DeJong this year with 22. Next one he hits, he will be second on the all-time rookie list for Cardinal home runs, behind only Albert Pujols. Checks in at 289. He's driven in 57. Got him. Was that the same pitch that he struck out Pham on? He gets DeJong.
Sure looks like it. He got to a 2-2 count on both of the hitters and then dropped the slider on him. And that's a pitch that Garrett has talked about using a lot. And you can see the downward break. And after a walk, he gets back-to-back strikeouts on pitches that are down around the knees. So that ought to give him a little bit of confidence out there.
Only work now to Jose Martinez, who's swinging a very hot bat for this Cardinal club. Comes into the game at 314 with 13 home runs. Since the All-Star break, Martinez hitting .356 with 21 runs batted in. He's had a steady diet of first base. He's been there this entire series and in the cleanup spot. Hit in 13 of his last 14 games. Fair ball on a bare hand pick by Suarez. Then he dropped the ball. You think that ball was going to stay fair, or was it going to go foul?
Hard to tell. It's really even more difficult if you're Suarez to decide whether you're going to try to make the play or not. Looks like it probably would have stayed fair. Yeah. So his only choice was that barehanded attempt and wasn't able to come up with it.
Certainly had no play at second with 2 out. Carpenter was on the move, and he gets down to second base. So the Cardinals 2 on and 2 out here in the bottom of the first.
So for the 3rd game in a row now, Yadier Molina strides through the plate in the first inning with runners on base.
He came through on Tuesday night with that 2-run double. Yesterday, Tyler Mahle got him out with some big-time help from Jesse Winker out in right field, and he made that diving catch. And we heard Jim Day talking with Jesse about that in his pregame interview. But Jesse was a little secretive, wasn't he, about that that thing that he and Votto did after his home run?
I'm on pins and needles. Jim Day will get to the bottom of that.
He is our investigative reporter, and I'm sure he will. Smash to the shortstop. Kozar to Peraza covering. They get the force out on Martinez at second, putting an end to the bottom of the first. At Bat is your #1 mobile app for live Reds baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get Reds home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatsCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Scoreless first from Busch Stadium. We go into the second. Reds went down in order in #1 against Luke Weaver, and now he'll get Suarez, Schebler, and Duvall. Interesting numbers we talked about right at the top of the broadcast. We'll repeat it. Reds trying to win 2 series here in St. Louis for the first time since 1990. Broken bat, that's a fair ball. Suarez, who hit the grand slam, the big blow in the 5th inning last night, out here weekly 1-3. I mean, you're talking 27 years ago since the Reds have come into St. Louis and won 2 series in the same year. Now Luke Weaver will get Scott Schebler with 1 out. Schebler's played center field in each of the first 2 games of this series. With Winker out in right, he moves over to right field today. Philip Ervin getting the start in center. Couple of hits on Tuesday night for Schebler. Nothing last night. Hammers this one into the right field corner. That will be cut off. Nice job out there by Grichuk. Schebler hustling into second, and he will get there with a slide just ahead of the throw, rather the tag of Paul DeJong. Schebler gets the 2-base hit. The Reds have a runner in scoring position.
Really nice job by Grichuk out in right field to get to the ball and get it back in time, and it makes you appreciate how fast Scott Schebler really is. I mean, he's a big man. He's got a body like Mike Trout, and he runs and runs like a football player. And he barrels right into second base here on a 1-out double.
Good comparison, yeah, because when you look at Schebler, he does look a little bit like Trout in terms of his body style. His 25th double has given the Reds an opportunity here in the second. Reds came into this series 7th in the league in average runners in scoring position, and they've done a decent job so far. 5 out of 11 in this series. A chance here for Adam Duvall. Adam at 250 with 31 home runs, trying to crack that 100 RBI plateau for the second consecutive year. Out in front of that changeup, and Weaver will flip on to first in time. Well, he's gotten on the changeup, looked like Suarez and Duvall in this inning, way out in front.
Well, he's not afraid to throw at both the left-handers and right-handers. A lot of times a right-handed pitcher will reserve the changeup for lefties and get the right-handers out with sliders. But Weaver's changeup is so good, it's his number 2 pitch no matter what.
Schebler moved to third. He's there with 2 out, and Phillip Ervin, who's getting his first start of this series, gets the chance here. See, he chokes up on that bat. Ervin, a former #1 pick by the Reds back in 2013 out of Samford. It's always kind of the running joke. You say, where? Stanford? No, Samford. S-A-M-F-O-R-D in Birmingham, Alabama. Up and down a couple of times this year from AAA Louisville to the Reds. He got off to a really good start in his pro career way back in 13 at Billings in the Pioneer League. He hit over 300 there, and a brief stint at the Midwest League, again over 300 that year. But look at the rest of his career. He has been in the 230 and 240 range, so he's never been able to get that average in his full season years back up to where it was that first year.
He's got a very quick bat, Ervin does, and I think it's really a matter of adjusting to the breaking ball once you get to the higher levels of professional baseball. Well, he's got him set up for a changeup here. If you throw your hardest pitch right at the eyes, the hitter gets a really good look at it. You take a little bit off on your next pitch, and very hard for the hitter to stay back on it.
Ervin stays alive with a foul ball. Played in 99 games this year for the Louisville Bats. Hit 256 with 7 home runs. Now, in terms of the teams that the Cardinals are chasing, the Cubs play at home tonight against the Mets. An interesting starter there that we'll touch on. Brewers are off. Arizona and the Rockies start just about when we'll be getting finished here. DeJong had to go right under his glove. Run will score. Ervin aboard, and the Reds have taken a 1-0 lead.
Infield coaches will tell those infielders from time to time, don't peek, don't peek. And I think that's what DeYoung did right here. He's very aware that Irvin gets down the line quickly. And he just kind of looking up at the same time he's trying to pick that ball to gauge where that runner is. And the ball slips right underneath his glove, and the Reds are able to push one across here.
Unearned tally, but a run nonetheless, and a 1-0 Redlegs lead here in the second. Let's see if Barnhart now can move Irvin around. Philip does have 3 stolen bases with the Reds this year, and he has been a guy who has stolen 30+ bases in 3 of the last 4 years in the minor leagues. Held over there by Martinez.
Well, if he steals a base today off of Luke Weaver, it'll be the first one stolen off of Weaver in the major leagues. They've had a couple try. He's had 1 pitcher pick off. He's had 2 catcher throwouts and 1 pitcher caught stealing. So basically they're 0 for 5. And you can see why. You know, the more I watch Weaver pitch, the more he reminds me of Tim Hudson, a right-handed pitcher that had a tremendous career with Oakland, with San Francisco, with Atlanta. You know, they always thought Hudson was a little bit too small, but he had a really good slider, nice changeup. He was a workout freak, and he kept himself in great shape, but what he did more than anything was just pound the strike zone and do the little things, which is field your position, hold runners, and it looks like Weaver's already got the hold runners part down.
Trying to put Barnhart away. Tucker starts the game at 269. Reds score first in this game. They lead 1-0 on an error by DeYoung that allowed Schebler to score from third. They really have a knack of doing that, scoring first against the Cardinals this year. They've done it in 12 of the 16 games in which they have played against St. Louis this year. Runner going and out at second base. Irvin was out easily at second. He's caught stealing by Molina. Inning is over. The Reds defensive setup here in this game brought to you by Ford. The Reds line up with Duvall, Irvin, and Schebler across the outfield. Suarez, Cozart, Peraza, and Votto on the infield. Garrett and Barnhart do the pitching and catching. Peraza getting the start at second base again today with Scooter Gennett still out of there. Philip Irvin getting the start in center field with Schebler over to right and Jesse Winker sitting out here this afternoon. Ryan Price said before the game, speaking of Peraza / Scooter, he said Scooter was going to go through his treatment today, test the hand a little bit to see if he would be available off the bench, either to just hit or possibly come in for a double switch. A Scooter in the dugout. 1-0 Reds, bottom of the second. Center fielder Harrison Bader, who's been out there all 3 games of this series, will lead things off, filling in for the injured Dexter Fowler. Fowler with a sore knee, banged into the wall in their series here against the Pirates. Garrett walked the leadoff man in the first, Carpenter. Worked around that and the infield hit by Martinez, and now tries to get the leadoff man here. Right center, Peraza out, Schebler in, and Schebler makes the catch. Leadoff man out.
You know, when you're a young pitcher going through the major leagues for the first time and your delivery is a little bit inconsistent, that's when you get exposed, and I think that's what's happened with Amir Garrett so far this year. He's trying to learn how to pitch and survive at the same time. We're going to look at a side view of Amir Garrett here, and what all pitching coaches want is to have that pitcher get out over the front leg. And that means, you know, have your chin right about there, and you can see that he's a little bit behind right now of where he ought to be. It's better in this start already than it was in the start against the Mets. But we'll take another look at it. And if you get a side-by-side of Clayton Kershaw or Randy Johnson, their head is going to be out over their front toe. At the very least, it should be out over your knee. And I think once Garrett begins to get that in his delivery, just going to add deception to his fastball. He'll be sneaky fast, and his pitches will be much more and easier to control.
Was that something that he was doing, Chris, early when he was successful?
You know, I can't tell you that, Jim. I don't know. I didn't really look at it until his last start against the Mets, and I thought that he was just really awry mechanically, and wanted to take a look again today.
Well, he gets the strikeout here of Grichuk. It's his third. And he's 2/3 of his way to a 1-2-3 inning.
Now, it doesn't mean that he can't survive doing what he's doing right now. I just think that if you get out over your front knee, and I think any pitching coach will tell you the same thing, it will open all sorts of doors of opportunity for him to be much better than he is potentially right now.
He works now to Alex Mejia, the second baseman, with 2 men out, nobody on. Mejia in there starting for the first time today in this series. Seen him come off the bench in both of the first 2 games. Came up and made his big league debut back in June, was sent out in early July. Spent most of the year at AAA where he hit .291, Alex Mejia. Played collegiately out in the desert in Arizona. Down the right field side, Votto long run, and he's not going to get there. Just past the tarpaulin roll. They have a big crowd here on this Thursday afternoon. They announced 40,000 each of the first 2 days, but today looks to be the best of the 3 days, but they're packing them in here at Busch. Reds home tomorrow night with the Pirates in town for 3 over the weekend. Nice off-speed delivery there. Mejia down on strikes. Garrett has a 1-2-3, bottom of the second. We'll see your Reds take on the Pirates this Saturday at Great American Ballpark. Thanks to John Morrell. First 20,000 fans through the gates will receive a triple bobblehead featuring Reds first baseman past and present. How about Tony Perez, Sean Casey, and Joey Votto? Gets all the action for as low as $12. If you're interested in tickets, go to Reds.com. Here 1-0 Reds after 2. Tucker Barnhart was at the plate when Irvin was thrown out stealing in the second. Back up there now, leading off the third. Tucker hitless in this series. He did not play Tuesday in there last night. Garrett on deck, then Peraza. Very fine year for Tucker Barnhart. He should certainly be in the discussion for a catcher's gold glove this year. Won one in the minor leagues years ago. He is down on strikes here, and that's the second strikeout for Luke Weaver. Weaver went into this year as the #2 prospect in the Cardinal organization coming into the spring. Big success down at AAA, 10 wins and a 2.55 ERA. They've had him up and down a couple of times this year.
I imagine the #1 prospect was Alex Reyes. We talked about him last night. I mistakenly called him Jose Reyes, but he's the really talented young pitcher that throws about 100 miles an hour with a good changeup, but came down with the elbow problem so severe they ended up having Tommy John surgery and now sidelined for the year. So the Cardinals will get him back next season.
We talked a lot about, and justifiably so, all the young pitching that the Reds have and who they're going to hopefully have in the rotation. Cardinals can look that same way with Reyes coming back next year, Flaherty, this guy Weaver.
Well, kind of interesting, really, that the two pitchers that the Reds have seen back-to-back in this series were both taken in the 2014 draft when the Cardinals had 2 first-round draft picks. They were able to get Weaver as a 27th pick in that draft out of Florida State. And they picked Jack Flaherty, last night's starter, out of a high school. Flaherty makes the major leagues at age 21. And you know, I guess that's good scouting, and it's also good luck, because when you're drafting in the first round and when you're picking after about the 10th or 11th pick, it's no guarantee. You can just look at the number of major leaguers that come out of the first 10 picks versus the next 20 picks. And, the major league fields are filled with those top picks. But one of the things about Weaver that they really liked was his command and what he did at Florida State first year that he got to be a starter down there.
Garrett making Weaver work here. 2-2. Cardinals starting pitching by and large this year has been near the top of the league all year. They had one drought. They went down to near the bottom of the league in June. Injuries led to that, but they bounced back very nicely.
Well, out of 2014, we're talking about this draft, and the #1 player was taken by Brady Aiken. I thought that he went with the Houston Astros. Have to look that up. Of course, Schwarber, we know, went with the Cubs. Kyle Freeland, Michael Conforto. We would have seen him in New York, but he's sidelined for the year with a shoulder injury. Trey Turner and Brandon Finnegan taken that year. The Reds had 2 picks in the first round. They were down, though, as far as where they had to pick. In the number 19 pick, they had Nick Howard out of University of Virginia in that draft, and Alex Blandino out of Stanford in the 29th pick.
We were trying to do in the top of the third what Garrett did in the bottom of the second. That is to say, a perfect inning. And he accomplishes just that with a strikeout of Peraza. 2 in the inning, 3 in the game for Luke Weaver.
Good memories for Amir Garrett on this Busch Stadium mound. It was his major league debut, and let's take you back to April 7th of this year. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs. He did walk 2 batters, but struck out 4 on this day. It was a 2-0 Reds victory, and major league debuts, as far as they go, very, very good. Through 77 pitches, it was game 1 of a 3-game series, and the Reds went on to take 2 out of 3 back in April.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Thank you, Jim Day. Trying to win a second series here in St. Louis this year for the first time since 1990. You could see a glimpse there when those highlights were being shown of the difference in Amir Garrett's delivery windup wise then and what he's doing now. He gets his opposite number, Weaver, to lead things off here in the bottom of the third. Weaver can swing the bat a little bit. 3 hits this year. 8 for 25 career-wise at the plate. From 3-0 to 3-2.
Garrett keeping the fastball down. That's 3 strikeouts in a row and 5 in the first 2 and 3rd innings.
Back to the top of the order now, and Matt Carpenter. Saw Amir Garrett walk off the dirt circle there during that at bat against Weaver, and it just hit my mind that I read a nice story yesterday by Ken Rosenthal from Fox about what's going to happen next year in terms of timing with pitchers delivering to the batter. Big meeting in August between Major League Baseball, the Players Union, the players, current players were represented in that as well, trying to decide how they want to move forward in quickening the pace of the game. And certainly the pitcher's delivery to the plate is a big part of that. Talking about a clock, one that has been going on in minor league baseball for a number of years. I think it's 20 seconds when nobody's on base, 30 seconds when there's a runner on base. Memories of Philadelphia with Joey Votto right there. Or Chicago this year, yeah. Getting them all worked up over there. He did throw that ball in the stands. 1-2.
Carpenter trying to lay one down right there. They've got the big shift on him, and Suarez, the third baseman, is playing over where, you know, normally the shortstop is playing. So he's trying to lay it down anywhere here, but like a lot of hitters that try to bunt against a shift, he got a little bit anxious. And Garrett throws a breaking ball, and he's kind of running out of the box at the same time that he wants to lay it down, and ends up fouling it off. Now Garrett in the driver's seat, 1-2.
Interesting you mentioned that Suarez is at the shortstop spot. There are many of those out there probably that are looking at that and going, maybe we'll see that again in the future. That's where Suarez played a couple of years ago. Then they switched him to third, where he's just been brilliant this year. But the shortstop spot is a position that is in flux for the Reds come 2018 with Cozart's pending free agency. Carpenter down on strikes, and boy, Garrett made a good pitch there. He struck out 4 now in a row and 6 in the game.
The slider for Garrett today is unhittable. I mean, he's having the Cardinals chasing that pitch mainly out of the strike zone. That's one of the first ones we've seen where it would have been called a strike anyway. That is 4 in a row for Garrett, including a tough to strike out Matt Carpenter.
Yeah, so 6 now in the game. His career high, season high, 12 strikeouts against Baltimore back on the 19th of April. Pham, a strikeout victim his first time. And Amir quickly gets ahead 2 strikes. He's been very pitch efficient so far in this game, considering he walked the leadoff man Carpenter to start the Cardinal first. Both these teams leave St. Louis after this game is completed. Reds heading home to take on the Pirates, and the Cardinals set to go to Chicago in a big weekend showdown with the Cubs. From 0-2 to 3-2. Mike Matheny's club. Again, they said the Cubs play later tonight at home against the Mets. This team could be 4 out depending on what happens in baseball today. Ball 4. So after getting ahead 0-2, Garrett loses Pham. He walks his second. What about that guy pitching for the Cubs tonight, Chris, against the Mets? Jen-Ho Tseng. What do you know about him?
Really came out of nowhere. He's a guy that was ranked as one of their top prospects for Chicago. Not a hard thrower, but a guy with impeccable control and a good changeup from what I hear. So we'll see if he's able to make the adjustment to the major leagues. Right in the thick of a race.
Yeah, really. Runner going. Barnhart's throw is not going to be in time. Stolen base for Pham, his 20th of the year.
I think Pham taking advantage of Garrett right there. Probably more worried about the 2-out walk than he was about thinking that Pham would maybe steal on the first offering, and Pham was really got a big jump right there.
Leads the Cardinals in steals, is the only player in double digits in stolen bases for Mike Matheny's club, and he's in scoring position. Yeah, heck of a position to be put in if you're Jen-Ho Sang, native of Korea, makes his big league debut in the heat of the race. Pardon me, yeah, Taiwan. I said Korea, Taiwan. Top 10 prospect for the Cubs. He gets thrown into the thick of things tonight against the Mets.
Well, the Mets are a team right now that, you know, they're not going to look the same next year. They didn't look like they do now earlier in the year. They did take 3 out of 4 from the Reds when the Reds were in New York last week. They got some pretty good pitching performances in that series. But they've got a team that next year can be a lot better in a hurry with some of the injured players that are on the shelf that will be returning.
Beautiful change up there, full count. We've seen more guys with pretty good changeups this year than in a while.
Well, it's going to, you know, there seems to be pitches that come in fads. For a while there, the split finger was a great pitch, and then it came the cutter. You know, a long time ago it was a slider. I think changeups are more and more pitches that I think that pitchers learn them at a younger and younger age. In fact, Luke Weaver, the pitcher for the Cardinals today, will tell you that he learned his changeup when he was 13 years old. And I think if you have the advantage of having some good pitching coaches growing up, and there are more and more travel teams where kids are getting better coaching, you're going to see the more changeups come at the upper levels of baseball, and they're going to be good ones.
I know you're a big proponent of teaching the changeup to young pitchers versus a slider or a curveball.
Yeah, I think it's a very effective pitch.
Brian Price is a huge proponent of the changeup. In fact, they have a mandate that all the pitchers in the minor leagues must learn to throw a changeup.
In the Reds organization?
Yeah. Martinez bats with 2 on, 2 out. Infield single back in the first. Well, he has a hit now in 14 of his last 15. Cardinals held to 5 hits in the game last night. Martinez had a pair of them. Has another one today, so he has 3 hits. There go the runners. Way inside, and the runners took off on Garrett.
Well, Garrett doesn't have to worry about any more stolen bases now. They're on second and third. He can concentrate on getting this batter out. Martinez was the one to squib the little ground ball down the third baseline his first time up that Suarez did not handle, and reached base that time.
For DeYoung, that's his first major league steal. He's out at second base in his first big league attempt. For Pham, it's his second of the inning and his 21st of the year. There are your Cardinal runners with a 1-0 Reds lead in the bottom of the third.
Well, so far Garrett has been effectively wild, where he's so far in and out of the zone, up and down and so on, that the hitters there are having a hard time guessing along with him. That's worked to his advantage, but he's got to throw a strike here or face Molina with the bases loaded.
Sharply hit into left. Both runners are going to score. The Cardinals have taken a 2-1 lead. Martinez looking fastball, gets fastball, drives in a pair. 2-1 Cardinals.
Boy, the inning started out so promising. Back-to-back strikeouts of the pitcher, and then Matt Carpenter, and then back-to-back walks, and a two-strike base hit by Martinez.
Those walks will do to you, and that's exactly what haunts Garrett here in the bottom of the third. Here's Molina with a runner aboard, 2 out and 2 in. Schebler will make the play on this ball to retire this side, but a batter too late. Cardinals get a pair. They're up 2-1 after 3.
I think it all comes down to having the right mindset, getting ready to hit, being ready to attack from the first pitch on, and doing it from a strong position to hit. And you know, these guys are all strong and talented and have the ability to drive the ball, and I just think it's a matter of consistency in their approach that's allowed them to do what they're doing right now.
Don Long, hitting coach for the Reds, talking about the abundance of home runs that his club has hit this season. 6 guys with 20 or more, now 4 guys with 25+ home runs, and this is the year of the home run. You check it out in Major League Baseball. The Orioles with an outstanding lineup. We know all about the Cubs: Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, Happ, Baez, and Contreras. 3 of the teams with 25 or more home runs. And gentlemen, this is flat out, there are many theories about this, but the year of the home run.
No question about that. And you talked earlier, Jim, about the fact the Reds are on the brink of setting a new franchise record for home runs in a season, harkening back to 2005 when they hit 222.
It certainly punches a hole in the theory that all of a sudden pitchers are throwing so hard now that they're at a disadvantage over hitters. I mean, I hear a lot of scouts tell me that, well, you know, pitchers now are training to be harder throwers from the time that they're in junior high. you know, with the weighted balls and the new conditioning practices that they had. That's a nice pick right there. Boy, Carpenter has a hard time getting the ball across the infield.
Yeah, we saw it last night. We see it again on that ball. And Martinez, who's not overly adept at playing first base, makes a nice play on this one. Kind of a shot put throw there by Carpenter.
Got to put Wilson Pickett down there at first base.
Jose Pickett. Here's Votto.
But I mean, getting back to that, I know that there are probably more pitchers that are bigger and stronger and throwing a little bit harder, but they haven't invented the pitcher yet that can throw so hard that a hitter can't catch up to it if you throw it down the middle. And I think the home run balls show you that this year, although hitters will tell you, pitchers will certainly tell you that the seams are smaller, the balls seem harder. Even in batting practice, they sound different. The bats are harder, of course, with the use of maple bats, triple lacquer. I'm not sure anybody gets better quality wood in his baseball bats than Joey Votto. I mean, it's like Pete Rose used to. I mean, those bats were so hard. I mean, you could beat them against a fire hydrant and they wouldn't dent.
Well, when you're a really, really good hitter, I guess you get the best wood that's out there. Right at Mejia. 2 out. Well, we haven't seen it yet today from Votto, but when you look at the stats, Votto was right among the top hitters in the league during day games. He came into the day at 316 overall, but up over 340 during day games, and even better than that, day games after night games is what we have here, over 350.
He's a little frustrated right now. Did not like the ring up call on the first at bat on 3 pitches. That time Weaver got ahead of him 0-2 before putting him away on a ground ball.
Trying to make it 3 innings in a row now is Weaver. Standing in the way of that is the Reds' third baseman, Eugenio Suarez. Always entertaining when Jim Day talks with Suarez after a game like he did last night. Jim asked him, is there ever a time when you're unhappy? He said, no, I'm happy all the time. He's always smiling. That's going to be a hit into right center field, and Suarez is on. Here's what we're talking about last night after the game with Jim and Suarez.
Are you ever in a bad mood?
I don't think so, man. I just try to find, to enjoy this game, because this is the game. You got to enjoy. Sometimes you feel bad, but I don't want to put in my frustration in the game. I just try to enjoy my game and be fine every day.
And then later, you didn't see it, but he said, have a good day, Day. One of his famous lines. We say it to Jim all the time. Have a good day, Day. Having a good day down there today, basking in the sunlight. Got away from painting those closets for a while. Taking in the Rays down near the Cardinal dugout. Pardon me, the Reds dugout. Ringing double his first time for Schebler. Cardinals up 2-1 thanks to a 2-run single by Jose Martinez. Tying run on for the Reds.
Weaver's been a strike throwing machine against the Reds so far. In fact, he's only had one 3-ball count all day long. That was when he got down to the bottom of the order when he ran the count full against Phillip Ervin.
Short lead by Suarez. Now he'll be on the run on this next pitch, which is a 3-2 offering to Schebler. Martinez will move behind the runner. Suarez will be off and moving here very quickly. Strike 3 call. Schebler thought it was ball 4. Adrian Johnson overrules him. Inning is over. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together, and by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. Well, the Red Cross depends on financial donations to be able to provide disaster relief immediately. Help people affected by Hurricanes Harvey and Irma by visiting redcross.org or texting the words Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation. Inside beautiful Busch Stadium. 2-1, Cardinals in front. They bat in the bottom of the 4th against Amir Garrett. A little hiccup for him in the bottom of the 3rd with back-to-back 2-out walks, and the Cardinals made him pay. The first pitch swing here from Harrison Bader. You can see Duvall out there battling the sun. What they call the high sky here with no clouds. We see it a lot during April, or rather March in Arizona. Duvall hung in there and made the catch. Not a cloud to be found today. This little
shift on east, and we'll see this tomorrow in Cincinnati.
Good change up there. That's the pitch that Amir Garrett needs to make sure that he continues to use. I know he's got a really good slider, likes to use a slider as his best second pitch, but that changeup against right-handed hitters, boy, that's a good one when he sells it like he does.
Van Grichuk his first time. And gets him this time.
Backdoor slider right there. Grichuk gives up on it, and it comes across for strikeout number 7. That may have been the changeup. It's sometimes hard to tell because he gets a lot of downward action on that slider. So unless you really see it coming out of his hand, I can't really tell.
He gets Mejia now with 2 men out and nobody on. Amir making his second start since returning from AAA. Both of them on the road. That first one we talked about in New York, and now this one here. Got a little ways to go, obviously, but he's trying to end a streak of 6 straight games for the Reds without a quality start turned in. Very nice work done last night by Tyler Mahle, but he did not go the required 6 for the quality start. Season high for the Reds this year is 7 straight games without one. That was back in May. Foul ball. Nice to see Tyler Mahle relaxing today after that first big league win. He was talking after the game about the victory shower that he had. They were throwing, you know how that goes. They throw any and everything that's around on you. He said, he was asked, what did they throw on you? He said, I don't know for sure unless I could smell it or taste it. Might have been some mustard, might have been some ketchup. Whatever they could find. Mahle went 5, allowed no runs, 4 hits, getting his first big league win. If he were to start again, and there's no reason to believe he will not, it would be against this Cardinal team next week at home. High throw by Cozart. He unloads it into the camera well beyond the first base dugout. And Mejia reaches on the error by Zach.
Now, we've seen some uncharacteristic errors on the part of Zach Cozart. You know, he's raised the bar of expectation defensively so high that whenever he makes a miscue, it's worth taking a notice of. Just sets his feet and fires it right over the head of Otto.
So the 11th error of the year is second in this series. That'll allow the pitcher to bat, and even if he is retired here, it turns the Cardinal order over for the bottom of the 5th.
Now, don't get me wrong. Cozart is still one of the best defensive shortstops you're going to find in Major League Baseball.
Right.
I guess that's why it's noteworthy that he actually makes an error every once in a while.
Reds have any number of players that'll be in the conversation for Gold Gloves come the end of the year. Certainly Billy Hamilton, Adam Duvall. Talked about Tucker Barnhart. Suarez won't get it, but he has certainly played well enough to be one. Cozart another. Even Votto really has improved his defensive play here in 2017 after a subpar defensive year last year. Past the mound to Cozart. Inning over. So he works around the air, does Amir Garrett, to end the bottom of the fourth.
Are Zach Cozart's favorite athletes, Ken Griffey Jr., Ozzie Smith, and Derek Jeter. Let's go inside the mind with other Reds players. Who's your favorite athlete?
Favorite athlete as a kid, Chipper Jones. I love watching him play. Pete Rose and Derek Jeter.
In basketball, I was a big Allen Iverson fan growing up.
I'd have to go Michael Jordan, yeah. Just like everybody else. Him and Kobe Bryant, I love watching them play.
I love Ken Griffey Jr.
He was electric to watch. He had a beautiful swing and did things on the baseball field that I'd never seen before.
And you know about athletes. They want to be entertainers and singers. Singers want to be athletes. But it's always interesting to find out who their favorite athletes were, particularly growing up.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you, Jim. Duvall, Irvin, Barnhart here in inning number 5. Reds have but 2 hits in this game. Double by Schebler in the second, single by Suarez in the fourth. Here's Duvall. He is 3 for 9 in the series, having tapped one back toward the mound his first time. Sitting at 96 RBIs, or 4 away from a back-to-back 100 RBI first 2 full years in the big leagues, trying to become the first Red to reach 100 RBIs in his first 2 full seasons since way back in the 40s when Frank McCormick did it for the Reds. Big Frank did it back in 38, 39, and 40. He had back-to-back years when he drove in 100 runs. That 40 season, of course, was a World Series championship year for the Reds. They beat Detroit that year. through 4 in terms of pitch counts in this game. Weaver came into the inning at 70. Garrett 77. Two 2-1 Cardinals here in the 5th. Pham first in, now back, makes the catch. And the leadoff man gone. Reds have not had the leadoff man on yet in this game. But don't miss the final Fox Sports Ohio Fan Cam tomorrow night at the Holy Grail right across from Great American Ballpark. Chance to answer Reds trivia questions with Mo Egger from 700 WLW. You got a chance to win prizes, be part of Reds Live. All starts tomorrow at the Holy Grail at the Banks, beginning at 6 p.m. Irvin with one out. Talking about how well that Luke Weaver has been pitching. Last time out, 5 2/3, no runs, 7 hits. Prior to that, 7 innings of 2-run baseball. He's had 2 7-inning starts in which he has not allowed a run this year.
Well, he sure seems in control. It's been very impressive, really, the last couple of nights to see the young pitchers that have taken the mound for both teams. Last night, of course, Malley and Flaherty. Today, Garrett and Weaver. Both of these teams have something to look forward to. I mean, as soon as next year.
And you made the comment on the open last night. The future is here.
Well, I mean, you can say that for both teams. I mean, the Reds have looked around everywhere to try to figure out who's going to be in the rotation next year, and I think that's still an undecided answer. But the Cardinals, I mean, if you just look into their near future, I mean, you can pencil in, I would imagine, Weaver. You can pencil in Flaherty. You can probably pencil in Alex Reyes, who's been missing the whole year this year. And then, of course, you got the guys coming back. Wainwright, Waka.
The question is about Lance Lynn. Will they re-sign Lance Lynn?
Well, yeah, Lynn is a free agent. That's a good question. But I mean, when you have young pitchers stepping up the way that Weaver and Flaherty have, it takes the pressure off the Cardinals maybe to dish out a lot of money when they really want to maybe concentrate their efforts elsewhere. They've got a bullpen that could use some help. They probably could use another left-handed hitter or two in the lineup.
Yeah, 2 guys who have been mainstays in that bullpen lately, Kevin Segras and Trevor Rosenthal, gone. Rosenthal with Tommy John. He'll miss all of next year. Segras now in the Phillies system.
Now that he's going through the 3rd time through the lineup, it seems like Luke Weaver is breaking out a couple of new pitches. He has a curveball, which he just threw there to Tucker Barnhart. Also has a little bit of a cutter that he throws a little bit. First couple of times through, he kept it very simple.
Full count. Garrett is in the on-deck circle, the number 9 hitter in the Reds order. Scored in the 2nd on an unearned run on an error by DeYoung, and that's really the only chance the Reds have had today against this young right-hander Luke Weaver. Martinez ranges over, gets it, feeds Weaver covering. 3-1 on the putout. And the 3rd 1-2-3 inning of the game for Weaver.
Go into the bottom of the 5th inning, and Ramir Garrett so far has only given up a couple of those runs. It all came in the 3rd inning, but other than that 3rd inning where he walked a couple and gave up a base hit, that slider that he has been working on has really been good. The bottom end of the strike zone right there. Some look like strikes, dart out of the strike zone. Some look like balls, like that one to Randall Grichuk, and come back into the back door for strike 3. 7 punch outs now through 4 innings for the Reds left-hander.
And he had a tough 1st inning with a walk and a hit, worked around that. 1-2-3 second. Tough 3rd inning with the back-to-back 2-out walks, paid for it on the Martinez 2-run single. Worked around a 2-out error in the 4th. So here he is in the 5th at 77 pitches. Down by a run at 2-1. Carpenter, Pham, DeYoung representing the top of the order. Carpenter walked back in the 1st, his 100th walk of the year. Second to Votto in that department in the National League. Rarity these days, you see a player reach down and grab the dirt and use that as grip for the bat. These guys all wear the batting gloves, so they don't need that. Carpenter twice in a row has reached down, grabbed himself some dirt. See that unique practice swing he takes. Goes about halfway up the bat, takes a little swing. I wonder what the advantage of that is, or maybe there's a little stick 'em up there. That's why he does that. And he draws the walk. Number 4 for Garrett, and the leadoff man on for St. Louis. Now make Great American Ballpark your family day destination coming up Sunday. Thanks to Klosterman Bakery. You can get half-price Reds tickets, enjoy live mascot races, face painters, carnival games, and more. See your Reds take on these Cardinals and save. For tickets, simply go to Reds.com. Reds have the Pirates this weekend for 3, 7:10 tomorrow night, 4:10 on Saturday, then 1:10 Sunday. Off day on Monday, then the Cardinals are in. 3 night games Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Pham shoots it to right, near the wall, gone. #20th of the year for Tommy Pham. Now 4-1 St. Louis.
Well, what a boost that he has given to this ball club. Tommy Pham really not even on the radar when the year began, but he's gotten playing time and gotten hot and shows some opposite field power here during the daytime at Busch Stadium.
Three of the 4 runs that have crossed the plate for the Cardinals today have been via the walk. Carpenter here, Pham and DeYoung in the 3rd. 4 walks given up by Garrett. 3 of them have scored. Two home runs in this series, 176 for the Cardinals this year. That 20th by Pham gives the Cardinals 3 players with 20 or more, with another, Matt Carpenter, sitting at 19. And they led the National League in home runs last year. That's close, but foul by DeYoung. Now a walk to DeYoung. DeYoung has walked twice. Carpenter's walked twice. Pham has walked once. So the 5 walks issued by Garrett have all come in the top third of this Cardinal order. And you see Teddy Power taking a call out in the Reds bullpen. Jackson Stevens starting to loosen up. Garrett came in at 77. He's at 89 pitches now. Walk, a home run, and a walk. Brian Price out of the dugout will go to the home plate umpire, so Amir Garrett is finished. He goes 4 innings plus 3 batters. Reds down 4-1. They'd love to win this game, win this series, secure the season series against this Cardinal club. And Amir Garrett, his journey for this Thursday afternoon complete. The Reds will make a pitching change and another change as well. Patrick Kivlahan out of the dugout. He's going to take over, looks like, in center for Phillip Ervin. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Garrett out, Jackson Stevens in. The 2 best records in the National League as Cody Bellinger leads the Dodgers against Daniel Murphy and the Nationals on Fox. Then at 3:30 on FS1, it's the Royals and the Cleveland Indians, the red-hot Cleveland Indians, going into action tonight. They've won 21 in a row. Or stream either game on Fox Sports Go. Dodgers, with their win the other night, have clinched a playoff spot. Nationals have clinched their division. A big Saturday of Major League Baseball on Fox and FS1. Changes for the Reds. Jackson Stevens is in. Amir Garrett out from a pitching perspective. Patrick Kivlahan has gone to right field. Schebler has moved to center. Phillip Ervin out of the game. Kivlahan in the 9 spot in the batting order. So it's Jackson Stevens on in relief of Amir Garrett.
Well, a 23-year-old right-hander that the Reds picked in the 18th round a few years ago. He did have a start earlier in the year for the Reds, but this is 4th appearance overall. 3 of those 4 out of the bullpen.
assess Amir Garrett's work today?
You know, it's one of those head-scratching appearances for Garrett where you see so much potential in there, but at the end of the day, you know, he's not going deep into a ball game. He's not putting you in a situation to win the game. But the potential is there. There's no question about it. I just think that he got a lot of work to do.
Toward right center, Schebler tracking on the track near the wall. He'll haul it in. Backtracking to first is Paul DeYoung. That's the first out of the inning. Jackson Stevens at Louisville this year was 7-10 with a 4.92 ERA. He has appeared since being recalled 2 times. Both of those in New York. And that start earlier this year against the Cubs was a winner. Actually, he's looked pretty good since his call up in September. Kivlahan back into his right. 2 fly balls, 2 outs off the bats of Martinez and Molina. Here's Bader with 2 men out, nobody on. Short, Cozart can't get it. New York and Schebler drops for a hit. Young moving on contact with 2 out, ends up at third. First and third, 2 out, 2 in, and a 4-1 game. Cardinals here in the 5th.
Right out on the end of the bat right there, going down on one knee is Harrison Bader, is able to just drop one in beyond the shortstop.
Bader started all 3 games of this series, only his second hit in 12 times up. Well, the Cardinals trying to extend the inning and extend the lead with Grichuk up there with 2 on, 2 out. Bader takes off. Stolen base. His second.
Looked like a pretty good throw by Tucker Barnhart right there, but at first look it appeared that Peraza fielded that throw way out in front of the bag and then had to kind of come back and make the tag. See how far out in front of the bag he fields that ball? If he lets that ball travel a little bit farther, I don't think that your hand can be as quick as the throw coming in, and he may have had a little better chance of getting him. The Reds are going to want to, well, first they ask for a review, and then Adrian Johnson looks back in, and Brian Price says, nope, nope. On second thought, we'll just go ahead and let it roll.
So 4 stolen bases today by the Cardinals. It could mean 2. Runner at third, DeYoung, still belongs to Amir Garrett. Right now, 4 runs in 4+ innings. To go along with the 5 walks, 7 strikeouts, he threw 89 pitches. off the end of the bat toward left. Duvall in. Can't find it. Finally does at the bitter end. Tough sky today for the outfielders. Duvall hung right in there. Made the catch to end the inning. One, Northern Illinois takes on Nebraska. Then on Fox, you'll see the Ohio State Buckeyes take on Army, followed by the rematch 11 years in the making as Texas and Southern Cal meet for the first time since the classic 2006 Rose Bowl. College football on FS1, Fox, and Fox Sports Go, where every game is everything. Here it's 4-1 in favor of the Cardinals into inning number 6. Patrick Kivlahan, who came on as part of the double switch. Jackson Stevens came into the game in a 9 spot now in the batting order.
Well, the Reds just have not had any really good approaches against that changeup that Weaver's been tossing up there. He goes from 82 miles an hour to 95 miles an hour. That's a big spread for a hitter to try to cover timing-wise.
Well, he has
you
been.
can tell yourself, get ready for the fastball all you want, but after you see 82, 95 looks like 115.
Yeah, he has really been in control in this game. He would have no runs against him had it not been for the error by DeYoung on the ground ball by Irvin in the second. And here's the big difference between these two today. Weaver, 0 walks. Garrett, 5 walks.
Well, the Reds have only had really one hard hit ball off of Weaver, and that was the double that Schebler hit, who eventually came around to score in the second.
Yeah. And we're seeing the best of Luke Weaver here today. Mentioned at the top. Each of his last 4 times out, he has won. Each of his last 5 starts, he has won. There was a relief appearance in there as well in August. Cardinals very impressed with what they're seeing out of young Luke Weaver. Soft liner that Mejia takes out of the air. Off the bat of Peraza, there are 2 out. $11 of 12 now retired by Luke Weaver, including 6 in a row, since the error by DeYoung that allowed the Reds to score their run back in the second. Talked about that stretch of non-quality starts for the Reds. Has now reached 7, and that equals a season high. The Reds had happened to them back in May, and it's happened again here in September.
Hey, Weaver's really feeling it right now because he gets that ball and he is already straddling the rubber, ready to go.
Sitting at 96 pitches and with 2 men out and due up second in the 6th.
Can't wait to get that ball back.
Think he stays in there? Do you think he comes out? Well, we can see there's action in the bullpen.
Hard to tell. I was a little surprised with the way Mike Matheny used his bullpen last night and allowed a left-hander to face Suarez with the bases loaded.
Reds go in order in the 6th.
Cleveland Indians and their 21-game winning streak, setting an American League record, bettering the Oakland A's of 2002. And the Reds have a connection to that. Nick Krall, the assistant GM for the Reds, whom you see here in St. Louis, he was actually a bat boy for the Oakland A's in 2002, and he had double duty. He was also an intern in the office during the day, so imagine getting up at 8:30 in the morning or showing up to work at 8:30, doing all those duties. At 3:30, he would change and go to the field and serve as bat boy. After the season, which was a magical season, they let him keep his jersey. He had it signed by the entire team, gave that jersey to his dad for Christmas, and to top it off, the movie Moneyball, which depicts that team. In many of those real action shots, you can see Nick Krall in the background. So he's also in the movie. Nick Krall, 2002, a magical year for him.
That's digging up a good story right there, Jim. Thanks very much. That Oakland team that year won the division, lost in the division series. Art Howe was the manager then. That was his last year, 2002, replaced by Ken Maka. They won what? They won 100 games for the second year in a row that year back in 02.
How about that'd be a pretty nice story eventually, and hope it works out for Nick Krall. Right now he's the assistant general manager. He goes from bat boy perhaps someday to general manager. Good man. We got to know Nick very well on the Reds caravan over the last few years. And good baseball man, played a little college baseball, and has been around with the Reds organization for a long time.
Well, the question has been answered. Luke Weaver will not go back to the mound for the 7th. Colton Wong bats for him here in the bottom of the 6th. So Luke Weaver, another strong outing for St. Louis. 6 innings with a 1 run unearned, 2-hit baseball without a walk.
Reds will be happy to see him go. I mean, I know what Matheny is thinking. You know, you want to use Weaver again. I'm sure that there are people in the organization wondering about his pitch counts, his number of innings pitched, and so on.
Suarez hustling, and he got him at first.
But every time you go to that bullpen, there is a little bit of unpredictability, and some bullpens more than others. Suarez has just really turned himself into a complete player. That's a nice play. Good play by Votto, too, to get down there and make sure you grab it. A little bit of a stretch.
Big guy Jackson Stevens now and out away from turning in 2 solid innings worth of work. Carpenter's walk, struck out, walked. He was on ahead of Tommy Pham in the 5th when he hit that home run, his 20th. Cardinals will employ a new pitcher come the 7th. Luke Weaver, 6 innings, 1 unearned run, 2 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, 98 pitches. Really a dominant performance here this afternoon. Carpenter rung up. Adrian Johnson gets him, and Carpenter looks back saying, I don't believe that was a strike, but he rings him up. And the inning is over. This afternoon's Honda game summary. Reds had the early advantage, just doubled by Scott Schebler, one of the only 2 hits the Reds have picked up today. He later came in to score, making it 1-0 Reds in the 2nd. That lead disappeared in the bottom of the 3rd on this 2-run single by Jose Martinez that plated Pham and DeYoung. Cardinals led 2-1, and they added to the advantage in the 5th. This off the bat of Tommy Pham with Carpenter aboard. Number 20 for Pham. Made it 4-1 St. Louis. Great work done today by Luke Weaver. 6 innings of 1 unearned run, 2-hit baseball. And that's our Honda game summary through 6. Cardinals are up 4-1.
Well, they bring a new pitcher in, a left-hander, to face the Reds here in the middle of the order. Votto, Suarez, and Schebler, a couple of lefties in that trio. Tyler Lyons is the left-handed pitcher. We're going to wait a second, delay the game while Luis Castillo runs out to the bullpen in his sneakers. That's a kangaroo court fine if I ever seen one.
Brian Price was talking to him down on the field near the end of the Reds dugout. Everybody was waiting for that conversation to end, and then Castillo went sprinting out toward the dugout, toward the bullpen. I wonder what that's all about. Odd looking, to be sure. The pitcher off for St. Louis is southpaw Tyler Lyons. They got the lefty Votto, then Suarez, then the lefty Schebler. Best year of his career this year for Tyler Lyons. Colton Wong has stayed in the game, taken over at second base for Mejia. Mejia has moved to third. Carpenter out of the game. So you put Lyons in the #1 spot in the Cardinal batting order. 2.47 ERA this year with 55 strikeouts and 47 in the third innings for Lyons.
Well, Lyons was drafted by the Cardinals. His second time he was drafted at first by the New York Yankees and secondly by the Cardinals. He ended up signing, and through the minor leagues he was a starter. Even in the major leagues the last couple of years he started a few games, although this year exclusively out of the bullpen here at the big league level. And Votto gets a break on that one from Adrian Johnson. So leadoff walk here has the Reds going possibly somewhere here in the top of the 7th.
That walk by Votto is major league leading 122nd. It also keeps his on base streak going. He's now reached base in 17 straight. Reds down 4-1. Tying run now on deck. And ball one.
You know, this is what I mean by when you go to the bullpen, you have a certain amount of unpredictability. And as I said, there are some teams that have, you know, they're more unpredictable than others when you go to that bullpen. I think if Matheny could have gotten just one more inning out of his starter, then you're relying on your bullpen only to cover 9 outs or 6 outs rather than 9 outs. The way that Weaver was dealing with the Reds today, I mean, it was basically a mismatch.
Suarez had a base hit into right center his last time. A couple of hits, 8 at bats in this series. Schebler next. And he got him on an off-speed breaking ball. Over the outside part, dropped it in there.
He's got a big curveball, does Lyons, and drops it right in on a perfect spot.
So here now is Schebler. Schebler's been a good hitter against left-handers here in 2017. He throws the bat away, thought he was hit by the pitch.
Adrian Johnson saying, well, what are you doing?
Quick throw to first by Molina, thinking they might catch Votto off the bag.
And he nearly did. Yeah. Votto is kind of signaling in there to Molina, saying, hey, you got my heart beating right there. You almost got me.
Schebler had thrown the bat away, thinking that he had been hit. Adrian Johnson says, where are you going, son? This is a challengeable call if the Reds so desired. They do not.
Here's a quick toss by Molina down to Votto down here. He's just kind of wandering back to the bag, and then Molina's going to snap throw to first base. I think Votto may have seen that before Martinez did.
Joey appreciates the heads-up play by Molina. Remember last year when earlier this year when the Reds were in town, Molina did that same thing at third and got Suarez down there.
Well, one of the cardinal rules are always watch the baseball if Yadier Molina has it. And Suarez just kind of leans off the bag right there. They fire it to third base and get a quick third out. And nobody in the ballpark more surprised than the Reds' third baseman.
Well, from a situation there where Sember thought he had been hit by a pitch and was going to be awarded first to a strikeout. 8 of them now by Cardinal pitching today. So Duvall will try to keep this 7th inning alive. Talked about last night, he came into the game with a hitting streak going against the Cardinals, kept it going last night, sitting at 10 games in a row that he has a hit against St. Louis, but nothing yet today. And now he's in the hole, 2 strikes. Michael Lorenzen on the right. Asher Wojciechowski also out there, looked like throwing. In the air, left field, carrying pretty well. That ball over the head of Pham and off the wall. Votto to third. He slowed down a little bit. Now they're going to send him. Here's the throw, and he is out. Joey slowed down a little bit as he approached third. Billy Hatcher gave him the go-ahead. Joey took off, and he is gunned down at the plate. 7-6-2. We'll watch Joey toward third here. Well, that play at the plate took a potential run away from the Reds. It was a double by Duvall. And as Votto approached third base, he slowed down a little bit. Billy Hatcher gave him the sign to go, and He is thrown out on the relay by Paul DeJong, the shortstop. Votto slammed his helmet down. And it's still a 4-1 game as we play here into the bottom of the 7th. Duvall gets the hit. Would have been second and third had he held Joey Votto. That would have brought up a pinch hitter for Jackson Stevens, who now stays in the game and gives up a hit into right center here to Tommy Pham, who's going to try for 2. The throw is wide. And a 2-base hit for Pham. He's had a good afternoon. A walk, a pair of stolen bases, a 2-run homer, and now a double for Pham.
Maybe it's being in the minor leagues for so long, I don't know, but Tommy Pham plays every at-bat like it's his last one. I mean, he runs as hard as he does right here on a routine ground ball to shortstop. And he runs himself right into a double here as he beats the throw into second base.
Kivlahan did everything he could on that. There's Pham hustling all the way.
God, you got to like the way the guy plays the game. You really do.
You're right. Reds led early 1-0. Trail now 4-1. Home 7th. DeJong has not had a hit today, but he's been on twice, a couple of walks. Gotten off to a 273 month of September. Let's see if this is playable for Votto. On the warning track area, he'll have it for out number 1. Make Great American Ballpark your family day destination thanks to Klosterman Bakery. You can get half-price Reds tickets, enjoy live mascot races, face painters, carnival games, a whole lot more. Plus, kids 14 and younger will get a Michael Lorenzen Fathead thanks to Coca-Cola. For tickets, simply visit Reds.com. One on, one out for Martinez. Third inning of work for Jackson Stevens. Runner will stay put. Martinez 2 for 4 today. Who's had back-to-back-to-back 2-hit games. Now it's Molina with a runner in scoring position, 2 out. Molina this year very clutch. 325 with runners in scoring position.
You got to be impressed really with what Jackson Stevens has done since he's come in. Remember, he's only 23 years old. He's one of the young ones. Won't be 24 until next May.
And he is one of the guys that Brian Price has talked about that he would like to see him start once or twice before the season ends.
You sure would. Well, they had plenty of opportunity throughout the year, that's for sure. But what you don't like really going into the off season is having the state of your starting rotation in such flux that you have to make your judgments based on what you see in the month of March. The Reds did that for the most part, and it didn't work out. I mean, the spring training will fool you every time. I really believe what you do during the regular season, when guys are trying to grind it out in a game like today, a must-win type situation for the Cardinals is way more important than pitching a great month of spring when you're facing AA hitters half the time.
Jammed him, and he hits it to left. Duvall charging, and Duvall got it with a nice slide. Well, he's had a tough day out there. Some really hard chances, and he's handled them all. Have beautiful weather here. We expect beautiful weather over the weekend with the Pirates in town. Everybody can convene again out at Great American Ballpark. The start of a 9-game homestand that will close out the 2017 home schedule at GABP. It's the Pirates for 3, these Cardinals for 3, and then the playoff-bound Boston Red Sox close out the home season. Well, business here today, as Jeff said, if they can get back in this thing. New pitcher on is John Brebbia.
First year in the major leagues for Brebbia. He's been out there 40 times, 41 including today, having a good year. Originally drafted by the Yankees, cut loose by the Yankees, pitched a little independent baseball, picked up by the Diamondbacks, and made his way over to St. Louis in a Rule 5 draft. I presume the minor league version of the Rule 5 draft.
Winker batting here for Jackson Stevens to get the 8th inning going. Winker out on strikes. He had started each of the last 2 games of this series in right. Fans here as a pinch hitter.
Brebbia just plays power baseball with him upstairs and blows it right by him. When you play some independent baseballs, you're playing on some teams that you may or may not have heard of before. Like in Brebbia's case, the Sioux Falls Canaries and the Laredo Lemurs.
I've heard of the Canaries, but not the Lemurs. How do you spell that?
Lemurs.
All right.
want to think that the Laredo Lemurs, I read an article this year, was a team that they were trying to keep together because they needed an even number of teams in the league. And they had maybe the worst record in professional baseball because they were borrowing players, had played their entire season, I think, on the road.
Well, it's not the team that you're talking about, but I remember a few years ago in the Frontier League, which we hear a little bit about in the Cincinnati area due to the Florence Freedom, that they had a team in the league to keep it at an even number, and it was a traveling team that played its entire 90-odd game schedule on the road. Kivlahan batting 1 on 1 out. Still a winnable game here for the Reds. They're down 3, but Kivlahan takes a called third strike. Ten strikeouts now by Cardinal pitching. Reds don't do anything here. They'll be down to their last crack in the 9th inning. Peraza with a runner aboard, 2 out.
I wonder if Homer Bailey had a chance to get out there during this series and say hi to Adrian Johnson, the home plate umpire. He was behind the plate, Johnson was, for a couple of no-hitters. Only one of those, of course, by Homer Bailey when he no-hit the San Francisco Giants back in July of 2013.
That was a great American.
Yeah, Johnson was behind the plate there in Cincinnati that night. Johnson was also behind the plate for the no-hitter thrown by Edwin Jackson when Arizona shut out and beat by no-hit the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2010.
Didn't he have an extraordinarily large number of pitchers thrown in that game?
I think you're right about that. Yeah.
Something like into the 140s or something like that.
One of those ugly no-hitters.
Yeah. Edwin Jackson walked 8 in that no-hit game. 8. How many pitches Jackson threw in that game? Was it in the 149? 149 pitches.
Brebbia so much thought this was a strike, he was on his way to the dugout. I mean, he was off the pitcher's circle. Adrian Johnson waved him back, said, we'll take one more from you.
It's happened a couple of times today. Popped him up. Wong to retire the side. Now Brebbia can leave the hill. Middle of the 8th, 4-1 St. Louis. Stevens, who was very impressive as his 3 innings worth of work. No runs, 2 hits for Stevens. Did not walk a batter. Had a strikeout. Very impressive. So Stevens now, in the 3 appearances that he has made since coming back in early September, has gone 6 1/3, allowed no runs, 2 hits, with 2 walks. That's pretty good right there.
Very good, and that's the way you get some attention, which is the whole idea if you're a September call-up. You know, all you want is an opportunity to play, and all you want to be able to do is take advantage of that opportunity. Winker goes to right.
Winker had pinch hit for Stevens. He stays in right field. Bader now, Grichuk next. And Alex Mejia. Reds will need something in the 9th inning. Wojciechowski is asked to keep it a 3-run game. Cozart, Votto, Suarez due up in the top of the 9th. Cardinals, meanwhile, have their new closer, Juan Nicasio, a former Pirate, former Philly briefly this year, now Cardinal, throwing in the bullpen. Been a shot in the arm for them. Walk starts the bottom of the 8th. Take a look now at our unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Here's what's going on. Royals at Cleveland tonight. Royals 4 games back of that second wild card. Indians trying to keep that incredible winning streak going, sitting now at 21. Rangers and the Angels tonight. A couple of teams battling for the number 2 wild card spot. Cardinals and the Cubs, that begins tomorrow in Chicago. Cardinals enter play today. 3 back. Cubs play tonight at home against the Mets at 8:05 Cincinnati time. Milwaukee off. Cardinals hang on and win here today. They will draw even an identical 77 and 69 mark with Milwaukee. Can either be 2 or 3 back on the Cubs, depending on the outcome of the Cubs game tonight. Grichuk in this game was 0 for 3. Wojciechowski been used as a reliever. That's how he made his Reds debut in a game at home against Colorado. as a starter. Not overly successful in that role this year at the big league level. Very successful as a starter down at AAA. Gonna fall in front of Duvall for a hit. The first two in the 8th have reached against Wojciechowski. Well, there's any chance to come back in this game. The Reds have to put a 0 up here in the bottom of the 8th. Alex Mejia, who started at second base, moved over to third. Bats with 2 on and nobody out. Takes the Matt Carpenter approach in terms of batting gloves. None needed. Expecting bunt. Pitcher spot due next. Actually, Colton Wong next, then the pitcher spot.
Boy, bad form right there by Mejia. The Reds would like to play this as aggressively as they can because it's a forced play at third base. Although the runner at second base, Bader, is extremely fast. So it's going to have to be a bad bunt or a real good defensive play to get the forced play at third.
And Suarez is going to have to get back there. He's in on the edge of the grass now. Well, let's see if Mejia is asked to bunt with 2 strikes.
Boy, you get a utility infielder up there and you ask him to bunt. You can't get the bunt down. You're in a pennant race. Cardinals are up by 3. What if it boiled down to you didn't make the playoffs because you couldn't get a bunt down? I mean, would be there any more indictment about the lack of fundamentals, not just on the part of Mejia or the Cardinals or Reds or anybody else, but I mean overall in baseball? I know I sound like an old guy shouting at the clouds, but you see it more and more. Keeping it on him with 2 strikes, it looks like.
If you play in the National League, you've got to be able to bunt because you see a lot more here than you do in the American League.
You don't see it as much as you used to. You see it, of course, as pitchers, but you don't see position players being called on all that many times anymore because the sabermetric people have proven that a bunt can oftentimes be a backwards thinking idea.
Votto will pick it. Didn't look to third. Didn't have a play anyway. And they get the out at first base. Barnhart's calling it out as to where Votto should throw. And the sacrifice executed. 3-4. Mejia moves the runners along, and now chances for Wong, and then a pinch hitter for the pitcher.
Happiest guy in the ballpark right there is Mejia.
Wong has walked intentionally. Now Greg Garcia will bat for John Brebbia with the bases loaded, 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th. Garcia at 245 with a couple of home runs. 7 hits off the bench this year. He could really give the Cardinals some breathing room. 1-1. Cardinals in this game 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Imperative here of Wojciechowski. The throw strikes. Leadoff walk to Bader. A hit to left by Grichuk. Sack bunt by Mejia. Intentional walk to Wong. Shallow right, long run Winker. Here comes Jesse diving, got it, picks it up, and the runner will tag and score. 5-1. Winker got there with a slide. I said dive. He slid into that ball and caught it. About the same spot that he made that big play last night on Molina.
Well, as soon as he leaves his feet, they're going to score the runner from third base. No question about that. He comes a long way, Winker does. So the Cardinals push one across.
Another runner stay put. Now it's Pham with 2 on, 2 out, and a run in. This turns this into a non-save situation for Nicasio. Another one to shallow right. Here comes Winker. Has it. Inning over. Wojciechowski works himself into, then out of trouble, but does give up a run. Reds down 4 coming into the 9th. Every game here on Fox Sports Ohio. That's with Reds Live pregame. Presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Another fine edition for you tomorrow night at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Game coverage at 7. Reds Live at 6:30. Chad Kuhl, he's been pitching pretty well for the Pirates against Bailey. Saturday at 4:10. Sal Romano against Ivan Nova. And the wrap-up Sunday, Robert Stevenson against Garrett Cole. Juan Nicasio in a non-save situation. Comes on for the 3rd time as a member of the Cardinals.
Very interesting acquisition by the Cardinals of Juan Nicasio. It's not very often that you see a team upgrade the bullpen in September. Normally they go down the minor leagues for that. But they actually had a trade with the Philadelphia Phillies September the 6th. So he's not eligible for postseason play. But he is eligible to help them get into the playoffs by being their closer in the month of September. Cut loose by the Pittsburgh Pirates. And you hear a lot of different stories as to why the Pirates would put him on waivers at this point. You know, there were revocable waivers at first. A team claimed him, they pulled him back, they put him on irrevocable waivers, and that's when the Philadelphia Phillies picked him up, and then a few days later traded him to the Cardinals.
Well, he's a free agent at the end of the year. He did pitch well for Pittsburgh. In fact, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, they tried to make him a starter.
And some of the baseball people I spoke with said the main motivation for the Pittsburgh Pirates was basically to save the $600,000 that it would cost to pay Nicasio his salary for the month of September. And with that $600,000, if you're a small market team, you're thinking, well, I could pay a minimum salaried player next year for that amount of money.
True.
The Cardinals needed some veteran relief help, and Nicasio is in the spot.
Gets Kozar, then Votto, then Suarez. Reds down by 4, 5-1. Been out hit 6-4. Both teams have committed an error. The Reds have had minimal base runners today. One walk given to them. That was by Tyler Lyons back in the 7th. They've had the 4 hits. And the error by DeYoung in the 2nd. That's the grand total of their base runners. Over the mound. Wong throws out Kozar to start the 9th. Votto today on base once, a walk in the 7th. On base streak now at 17 straight. Final game of the year between these two teams here in St. Louis. 8 played prior to today. Each had won 4. Reds have actually made, talked about it the other day, 4 trips here to St. Louis. That early April trip, their first road series, they won 2 out of 3. Came back at the end of the month and only played 2 of the 3 games due to a rainout on the 29th. Reds came back here after a series in Washington and made that game up on Monday, June the 26th, and lost 8-2. And now this trip, so 4 separate journeys into St. Louis. The Cardinals have 1 more to go into Cincinnati coming up next week. Cracked by Votto to right. Off the glove of the right fielder out there, Grichuk. Votto trying to make it into second, and he does. Going to be a double for Joey Votto. Close play out there at second base. He really scalded that thing.
Hit very hard by Votto. A sinking line drive. Might have been knuckling as well, as hard as he hit that ball.
The way that Grichuk moved that glove at the end makes it look like it was knuckling, doesn't it? Significant double for Votto. That's his 339th career 2-base hit, tying him with Tony Perez for 6th all-time in Reds history. Been a while coming, too. His last one came at Pittsburgh on the 3rd of September. That was number 338. This is number 339. Tied with Tony Perez for 6th all-time. Joey's reached base twice now today. That means he has reached base 290 times this year, most in the big leagues. He's on pace to lead the big leagues in times reached base for the 3rd time in his career. To get to 300 for the 3rd time in his career. He needs to reach base 5 more, or 10 more times after today. The final 15 games, that would seem for Votto like a lock. Two years ago he reached 319 times. That's a franchise record. Nicasio, 31 years old. Broke in years ago as a starter with Colorado. That's the strikeout of Suarez. Eleven times the Reds are fanned today. And now it's Schebler with a runner at second, 2 out. Reds down 5-1, ninth inning. Nicasio trying to give Luke Weaver his 6th consecutive win as a starter. Trying to hang the loss on Amir Garrett. Strike 2. Schebler scored the only Reds run of this game back in the second. He's since fanned twice. He's 1 for 3. And now Nicasio and the Cardinals a strike away, and the crowd of over 40,000 on their feet. Towards center field. Bader on the run. Bader's not going to get it. Short hops the wall. Votto will score. Schebler around second. Schebler into third, and he's there with a triple. And the Reds are still alive. It's now 5-2. Boy, it looked like Bader did not see that ball right off the bat.
I really think that the swing of Schebler can fool a lot of people. I mean, the ball just really jumps off his bat. The ball was up, the pitch was, and Schebler just puts a nice level swing on it.
Second triple of the year for Scott Schebler. Give him RBI 59. Here's Duvall with a tying run. Winker on deck. A double and a triple for Schebler today. Duvall had a double his last time. Now he's down 2 strikes. Chasing it, Martinez. Will he have room? He will. Duvall retired, and the Cardinals win the series 2-1. They win today by the final score of 5-2 over for the Reds. Winning pitcher is Luke Weaver. Amir Garrett suffers the loss. And the road trip for the Reds ends up with a couple of wins and 5 losses. They fall today 5-2. Back with more in a moment.